series, part two, on gaslighting. Gaslighting is a form of psychological abuse where a person or group makes someone question their sanity, perception, or reality, or their memories. Yeah. People experiencing gaslighting often feel confused, anxious, and unable to trust themselves. So last time we kind of delved into specifically about what it is and where the term came from. I recommended the movie Gaslight to see this in full play. It's a great movie. It's an older one, but it's a great one. So last time, other than talking about what it looks like, we ended up talking about how it develops, and we talked about countering. So you say, this happened, and they say, no, it didn't happen, and you feel crazy, right? Withholding, that's when someone refuses to actually engage in a discussion. So you say, this happened, and someone says, I don't know what you're talking about, or you're just trying to confuse me, or something, but they're not willing to engage in a conversation about it. Or trivializing. You said, this happens, and they say, oh, you make such a big deal of it, you're oversensitive. They invalidate your feelings. Okay. So let's continue. We have three more ways that this tends to happen where you're made to feel that you're invalid. And the other one's just a flat out denial. So, denial involves a person pretending to forget events or how they occurred. They deny that they said or did something or accuses someone of making things up. So, this is what happened to me as I had confronted an abuser with incest. They said, well, a psychologist just put that in your mind. It never happened. Right. And I'm like, it did happen, and right, and but it makes tends to make you feel crazy. My litmus test for gaslighting is like, is this person making me feel crazy? Right? Because a lot of times crazy people will make you feel crazy, right? Now that's not that, you can't have your own craziness, so you take that between you and the Lord. But when your inside says, this really happened, and someone's saying it didn't happen, that is classic gaslighting. Diverting. So this is a technique where someone changes the focus of the discussion. Look at the bird, squirrel, right? And questions the other person's credibility instead. Instead of this happened or this didn't happen, you said this or you didn't say this. It's all about your credibility, right? For example, they might say, that's just another crazy idea you got from your friends. In my case, that's a crazy idea you got from your counselor, right? In this dynamic, when it can also look like using something the victim has done to divert from taking responsibility for what they've done. So you confront someone, it's like, man, that was I don't know, that was not a love pat. That was like really abusive. I have bruises and welts, and then they say, "Well, look at the time when you blah 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 blah." Well, and that's not that there might not be something that you did do, but the point was, did did they use physical violence? Was that violence? Or right, so it's just a diversion tactic. um, another thing that the gaslighter may do is to stereotype. So a person using gaslighting techniques may intentionally use negative stereotypes of a person's gender, race, ethnicity, sexuality, nationality, or age to manipulate them. So if someone is, a child, they'll say, "Well, you're just a child. What do you know?" Or if someone is uh, female, they may say, well, you're just hysterical, right? Um, or any other type of gender, race, ethnicity. Uh, they may tell, for example, they may tell the person that they're irrational or crazy. So, I mean, you do realize that the word hysteria, the base word for hysteria is the word hys, which is the word womb. And so women, and this is not like, getting my burning my bra moment, but I'm just saying women were considered hysterical because they had wombs. Okay. A hysterectomy is a removal of the womb. And it was felt that the women's hysteria would wax and wane with the moon. Okay. They had all this bizarre stuff in the psychological literature that was a stereotype to gaslight women. Okay. And that's just an example. There's other examples too, for the guy genders too. So you guys, we're on your side too. We're on everybody's side. Okay. Okay. So those are ways that it may manifest. It may look like. So it's especially common in intimate relationships. Often evolves over time. So a lot of times it starts out subtle and then builds. So you're like, it's kind of like the frog that's getting boiled alive, but it starts in, cool water, and then slowly the temperature increases till they're being boiled alive. All right. And you think you're crazy, right? So it's often gradual. So an abusive partner may accuse someone of being irrational, crazy in order to isolate them. Isolation is a very common tactic that they may isolate them to undermine their confidence, and it makes it easier to control someone. So I have a client who literally married a drug abusing, manipulative, gaslighting spouse. And she was literally taken to the country where there was practically nobody around. And she was generally a pretty confident person, but in the place where he was like using all her money, he'd force her to work, and then he'd take all the money and spend it on drugs, and then call her crazy and call her stupid, and call her like she was like, you're just hysterical. And she had no one outside to say, wait a second, this is not passing the sniff test here, right? A lot of times, if you feel crazy, you might want to check if there's someone trying to make you feel crazy. And then if you feel, generally you could be crazy. So talk to the Lord about it and get some external perspective. We're going to talk about what to do in part 3. Okay. So, for example, someone in their isolation in this intimate context may continuously tell someone, "You're forgetful," until the person believes, "Yeah, I'm just always forgetful. I just don't remember things right. I always am making things up." Right? And you start to second guess yourself. Okay. Um, uh, Often when there's an imbalance of power in child parent relationships. So abusive caregivers may use gaslighting to shame their children, to control their children, to accuse them of being too sensitive or to belittle their feelings, or accuse them of misremembering events when they were younger. Okay. I talked about that my testimony, what happened with me in the gaslighting in my situation, right? Where I was basically told, no, you didn't remember that, right? You're just a child, that was put in your head, right? There's medical gaslighting. I'm sorry, folks, I practice medicine, but it happens. Medical gaslighting occurs when a doctor or medical professional dismisses or trivializes a person's health concerns based on the assumptions that they are mentally ill, right? They may tell their person that their symptoms are in their head. Okay. This really happens. You know what I mean? Don't assume. that it's in people's head. Now, some of the stuff can, but just do not assume, right? Take someone seriously. A 2009 study found that doctors were twice as likely to contribute coronary heart disease symptoms in a middle aged woman to mental health conditions versus middle aged men. And just so you know, coronary artery disease a lot of times will present in atypical ways in middle-aged women, older women. So it's not the classic stuff. So it's easier to say, it's just in your head. You're just making it up. Oh, you're just kind of anxious. Take a chill pill, whatever that is. And I can definitely vouch for that. And it's tragic when something is saying, it's in your head, and then it turns out to be real. And that person suffered or maybe had some really negative fallout because someone wouldn't believe them. Okay. This situation of not being believed is really, really horrible, right? There's racial gaslighting. Okay, so an article, according to an article in Politics Group and Identities, racial gaslighting occurs when people apply gaslighting techniques to a group of people based on race or ethnicity. Okay, so for example, a person may deny that a specific group experiences discrimination despite evidence that says otherwise, or they might criticize civil rights activists for being too emotional to undermine their message. The truth is this is that, what, until you've walked in someone else's experience, you really don't know. You really don't know. And so this is why it's so important to listen to people, and it gets complicated because sometimes we don't always respond. I'll just speak as a woman. So I'll do that because, my race is, Caucasian, and that tends to not have so many issues, right? So I'll speak as a woman. So being a woman, and I'm saying, this really happened, and you're being, you're just being blown off. Now, if I behave badly in my, start burning my bras and, telling everybody and every man they're a male chauvinist pig and, all this kind of stuff, well, I kind of lose my message. But, that doesn't mean that there's not some validity to it. So we need to be able to weed through the issues. Okay. So unless we're on the receiving end of someone's experience, we can't tell someone's experience that they're full of crap. Okay. It's important that we have empathy for that. Okay. This one's a big one. I am laughing. There's political gaslighting. As I record this, there's a lot of political fallout going on, right? An article in a forthcoming issue of Buffalo Law Review states that political gaslighting occurs when a political figure or group uses lies, denials, or manipulates information to control people. I've seen that on both ends of the spectrum, by the way. Examples include downplaying, hiding things that their administration has done wrong, discrediting political opponents based on mental instability, or using controversy to divert attention from important events. We can see this on both sides. So that's all I'm saying about that. There is institutional gaslighting. According to the article in the Journal of Perinatal and Neonatal Nursing, institutional gaslighting can occur at a company or organization. The organization may deny or hide information, lie to employees about their rights, or portray whistleblowers who uncover problems in an organization as incompetent or mentally ill. I can speak to this. I was the whistleblower when I was practicing medicine. I was actually a really good doctor, and I was kind of a whistleblower. And my heart was not to get anybody in trouble. My heart was to say, oh my goodness, look at this. We missed this. The patient had a negative effect. Let's get better. Let's be better. Let's do better. It was not well received. Instead, as the junior physician, it was blown off, right? And I was blown off, right? So I was considered, whatever, troublemaker. Instead of saying, what, there's a real issue. We need to come up to the plate here, right? The National Domestic Violence Hotline indicate that a person experiencing gaslighting may feel confused and constantly second guess themselves. This is really big. You feel crazy, right? You start to doubt your own perceptions of how things happen. You find it difficult to make simple decisions. Why you're second guessing yourself all the time. Find it frequently question if they're too sensitive, probably because they're being told they're too sensitive, right? Become withdrawn or unsociable, right? You're second guessing yourself. You turn inward. Constantly apologize to the abusive partner. Oh my goodness, I would apologize and I'd apologize about my apology. It was so bad. I don't do that anymore. I'm happy. Defend the abusive person's behavior, right? Lie to family and friends to avoid having to make excuses for their gaslighter's abusive behavior. They feel hopeless, joyless, worthless, or incompetent, right? So that is how gaslighting can present itself. Next time, we are going to talk about what causes gaslighting and, yay, what to do about it because there is vast hope. If this is you, oh, there is vast hope for you. There is freedom for you. There was freedom for me. And join in for part 3. And I hope everybody, you have a great day. Bye bye.